Hi everyone, I'm Christina Eilts and I'll be talking to you today about wetland restoration in Southwest Washington using the reintroduction of beavers to waterways. Since the end of the 18th century, Washington state has lost over 31% of its wetland areas, going from well over 1 million acres to down around 900,000 acres. And the most common causes of wetland loss are overgrazing by livestock, agricultural runoff, and urban development, as well as commercial disturbances such as forestry and mining. According to the EPA, a wetland is defined as areas where water covers soil all or part of the time, and wetlands are everywhere except for Antarctica and includes bogs, marshes, swamps, floodplains, riparian areas, so on and so forth. And wetlands provide very important ecological services. They provide flood buffers, they filter and recharge groundwater, they remove pollution from water, they provide fish and wildlife habitat, and they feed downstream water sources, which is very important during dry conditions. So the wetlands in Southwest Washington is geographically defined or considered the area from below Olympia down to the Washington-Oregon border and west of the Cascade Mountain Range, as you can see here in this map. And Southwest Washington is classified as a temperate region and has typically wet, cold winters and mild, dry summers. And wetlands are pretty common here. Even though we have had a drastic decline, they're still fairly common because it's a wet area. And the method of restoration that I'm proposing is to use the natural wetland building skills of the American beaver to restore degraded riparian areas. Beavers have honestly amazing restorative powers. They're a keystone species, so the success of many other species depends on their presence, and they have a tendency to dam faster moving waterways to slow the flow, and because of that, this increases sediment deposits, and as sediment builds up, it encourages plant life to build up, and it literally creates a wetland. And so with this comes positive changes to hydrology, stores large amounts of water, and beavers have such a significant impact that humans try to mimic beavers by building beaver dam analogs or BDAs. And even though it has positive results, humans still can't quite get the exact same results as beavers do. But all in all, introducing a beaver will create a wetland. They go hand in hand. So it's one of the simplest and most natural ways to restore an area. However, introducing beaver to an area does not mean there's no conflict. This is a great example of the impact a beaver can have on an area. So on the left is a picture of an area that's been heavily grazed by livestock. You can see that everything is very short and there's not a great amount of diversity. And on the right is after the introduction of a beaver. Notice that the impoundment of water has created a pond. It's flourished with different species, so there's a lot of diversity. And so this is a good representation of the changes that a beaver can make to their landscape. As I said, there can definitely be potential conflicts when working with beavers. Humans in particular have a tendency to have a lot of conflict with beavers. And because beavers have a tendency to impact our infrastructure. For example, culverts. They like to dam near culverts. It creates the sound of running water, so they dam there, and it has a tendency to flood properties, or it floods enough to cover a road. And so humans and beavers have a tendency to conflict. But one of the problems also is that most people have honestly never encountered beaver. They aren't familiar with the history of the area that say they're moving to, and they're not familiar with the life cycle of beaver. So with development popping up everywhere, people are likely to encounter beavers whether they want to or not. So that would just be something that would need to be planned for in this restoration strategy. Overall, with proper planning and an adaptive management strategy, just adding a beaver to a waterway could be one of the most cost-effective and ecologically effective ways to restore wetlands in the Southwest Washington area. Thank you for your time.